What's up everyone, it's ENDYMION, and the Japanese tsunami wave of base content keeps coming and I'm loving it. In this video, I'll go over the Tekken 8 controversy that's more hilarious than anything else, as well as how Stellar Blade continues to piss off weirdos who don't want beautiful women in video games. So, let's begin. This all started when a Twitter user decided to say that Tekken 8, the long-running Japanese fighting game, was ran by racist, anti-black Japanese devs, which is quite a claim to make. They said the only reason why Eddie Gordo hasn't been revealed yet is because the creators of Tekken are racist and don't care about black characters or dark-skinned people, so it's going to be a while until the real fighters come out instead of these whites, Latins, and Asians. This user, clearly, is very upset about the dumbest thing possible, and went as far as to try to muster up a reason to throw the entire dev studio in the toilet for not pandering to their needs. Eddie Gordo is a black Tekken character, but what's funny is that they already revealed a black character months ago in the form of Leroy Smith. But of course, it's never enough to appease woke activists. However, what makes this story extra funny is that Harada actually did respond to this weirdo, and it's glorious. Harada said via Twitter, and I quote, "If you think you can just claim anything that way and it will pass, you are mistaken. Leroy and Raven will kick your ass. Come to think of it, there are no Japanese characters in the American dramas and movies that I love. But I have never felt discriminated against because of it. What do you think is the crucial difference between you and me? I am sure you don't understand. You are not logical at all, and you are simply a delusional person who doesn't even realize that even if it were an emotional argument, it doesn't make sense." End quote. Oh boy. Well, I just want to say, after I read this, I actually went ahead and pre-ordered Tekken 8 based on just this tweet alone. I got my PS5 physical copy secured and it's coming in the mail. We need more devs to stand up against these delusional weirdos like this, cause what we're seeing here is the clashing of Eastern and Western values in real time. Katsuhiro Harada also makes a great point in saying that he doesn't often see Japanese characters that look like him in American media, but he doesn't find that problematic or wrong. He instead, like any rational, sane human being, can connect with and understand characters that don't look like him. This is the basis of basic level human connection, by the way. And unfortunately, for many woke weirdos, this is not something that computes in their brains. People like this Twitter user only recognize things on a very basic level and need things to be spelled out for them in easy ways to understand. They're morons, is what I'm getting at. It's also crazy because this user then went on to respond to others clowning on them. So let's mosey over and see what that's all about. Here's a little thread and let's read it. One user said, "You want black representation but also want black characters removed from the game. What are you smoking, bro?" To which the weirdo said, "I said he should have been DLC." Another user then says, "You literally said delete him from the game. You are clearly high, have underlying issues with the people you are claiming to defend here." Then it gets really funny when another user says he wants his characters to be purchasable. Oh, so he wants to buy black characters. That's actually quite an interesting observation. And this user just finalizes what we're all thinking by saying, "This is insane." Insane it is, Kingdom Hearts fan. Yes, it is. So this user not only wants black characters removed from the game, but they also want them to be DLC so that they can buy them. This has got to be a troll, dude. There ain't no way this person lacks this much depth when it comes to critical thinking skills. Maybe they do, I don't know, but if that's true, oh, this is incredible. I don't want black characters in my game, but I do want to buy them for money. My brother in Christ, you're advocating to reduce black video game characters to slave trades. How can you not see this? Sometimes I wonder if woke weirdos know just how stupid they really are. But then again, apparently some people don't have the brain capacity for internal dialogue either, which amazed me because I thought we all had that ability. But once I learned there's an alarming amount of people who can't think inside their own brains, a lot of stupid shit started to make a lot of sense to me. So really, this whole fiasco is actually not all that surprising, really. Harada then spoke publicly on how he came to the creation of characters like Leroy Smith, to which he said, "When I had the idea for this character, I just knew that it would be the coolest thing in the Tekken world in terms of design, fighting style, and personality. That was the first thing that mattered. That is the most important point, don't you think?" And this is the difference between these old school badass based devs and the gender politics weirdos making crap in the West today. Harada doesn't give a shit about representation for the sake of it. He doesn't look at the games he's working on and go, we need more black characters or something else to pander. Instead, he thought a badass white-haired dreadlock dude in sunglasses beating people half to death with leather pants would be dope as hell. And that ended up being the reason why Leroy Smith at least exists. Come to think of it, across the board, Tekken just has tons of crazy characters and all the dudes are ripped out of their minds. Their muscles are so big they look like they eat other bodybuilders in order to maintain their mass, and what do you want me to say? Tekken's male characters are unrealistic? Who cares if they are? It's a video game. Most people pull their muscles putting on their socks or throwing out the trash. There's nothing realistic about Tekken to begin with. Some dudes can turn into demons and shoot energy beams. There's a giant bear that just fights people too. Nothing in Tekken makes any sense, and that's a good thing. I always hated the whole we need to make things believable crowd, but it also gets reduced down to how do we make things more lame instead. Tekken and other Japanese games are cool because they don't care about realism or making sure they don't step on toes. Stuff like Yakuza, or Like a Dragon I guess as it's called now, are also great because they're just absurd. In the most recent game, Like a Dragon Gaiden, Kiryu's in his mid-50s, but he's still beating entire rooms full of dudes into bloody pulps anyway. He's got that old man strength, and it's never not fun to beat some baddies up and throw them around like they owe you rent money. If Tekken was made in the West, all the women would be wearing hijabs, and the main male characters would be race swapped in order to fit better for the modern audience. And then Tekken would die, and the entire studio would sink, and then fans would be called phobic terms for not supporting it. Take the new Tomb Raider series on Amazon, where Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who's unfortunately making that show, says the topic of giving Lara Croft big boobs or not is a heated topic during that show's ongoing development, which is so stupid. When asked by Vanity Fair on Tomb Raider, Phoebe said, and I quote, "She's a Tomb Raider, so she's incredibly fit. She has to squeeze through tiny rock crevices all the time. It is a different experience squeezing through a small rock crevice when you have larger boobs than if you have smaller boobs. There's nothing worse than feeling like you're being lectured when you were promised a party. She had an attitude. She was very deliberate in what she wanted to do. That all changed when they realized that they could market her to be a sex symbol. God, it literally felt like that teenager in me saying, do right by her, do right by Lara. The opportunity to have, as we were talking earlier, a female action character. Having worked on Bond and having worked as an actor on Indy, I feel like I've been building up to this. What if I could take the reins on an action franchise with everything I've learned with a character I adore and also just bring back some of that 90s vibe," end quote. Well, you see, this is why this upcoming Tomb Raider will likely be terrible, because these idiots are too busy worrying if they need to ensure Lara Croft's breasts are too big or not. When if this was Harada over at Tekken, he'd just say make him huge, make him jiggle, and give her a low-cut shirt. Hell yeah, brother, that's what I like to see. But Western weirdos are too worried about stepping on toes and making things that journalists will reject or cry about. And that's why their content continues to fail. I can already tell you that the woman who ruined James Bond and starred in the worst Indiana Jones movie that completely emasculated the main character is not the person you want making Tomb Raider. Besides, let's not forget that Lara Croft, like Tekken and others, they were never designed to be realistic anyway. These people are superheroes. No woman or man in real life could do what Tomb Raider does. And the same goes for Tekken. I don't care what age you are, if someone is physically strong enough to juggle you in the air with the sheer might of their legs, and then make you land on your neck from 10 feet in the air and you're not hurt, you're probably a superhero, dude. My knees crack when I stand up and my back pops whenever I move to grab something. We humans, we are not superheroes. And video games or movies and so on, these things are about escapism, not reality. I don't want to see a realistic Lara Croft, because if she's real, then she's dead immediately. A 120-pound woman with string bean arms taking out a room full of dudes with an axe is not believable. The actual scenario there is one guy grabs her arm and just throws her across the room because she's as light as hell. But we already know we won't get that level of female empowerment, so it's whatever. And that's why I find what Tekken's director said here to be great. He doesn't care what Western woke weirdos think, and he shouldn't anyway. And of course, as I was writing this video, another brain-dead take came out of this whole thing. Another user with all the usual buzzwords in their bio decided to try to paint Harada, the guy in charge of Tekken and has been making games for years, as some sort of out-of-touch racist. It's a bold play, but let's hear what they have to say. This take is not logical. It flies in the face of numerous studies that have shown the importance of diversity in the media we consume. Harada-san, your sole experience doesn't refute established sociological study and the reality of anti-blackness being reflected in media creation. Art reflects reality and no one is exempt from their internal biases being within the media they create. Trying to use your singular experience to dismiss justified concern over the lack of black characters within the 30 years your IP has existed is nonsensical, tone-deaf, and pernicious. It also further proves that internalized racism towards black people remains a global phenomenon, not just relegated to the US. This is what we call, fellas, a tourist, which is someone who just cherry picks things to get offended by in order to push an agenda. You see them saying this kind of stuff proves my point, but let's dissect anyway. What I think these woke activists fail to realize is that what they want doesn't need to be catered to. No game needs to have to check boxes if they don't want to. But the fact people like this require things to check boxes in order for them to enjoy something is the problem. Harada already explained that he doesn't need to see himself in things to enjoy it, and many of us, myself included, are like this too. But people, like these woke weirdos, show that it's never enough no matter how much you pander. Harada could turn the entire cast into a sea of black characters, but they would still find a reason to complain. Also, let's not pretend that the last 5 or more years has had a deluge of black characters being inserted everywhere. Alan Wake 2 Saga was race swapped for diversity quotas with no explanation. She was a white person before, but nope, not anymore. And like I said in a previous video, Angerboda being black in God of War makes little to no sense either, since it's based on Nordic mythology. That would be like Kratos going to China to face the Monkey King and he turns around and he's a black woman. It completely makes zero sense. The point is that pandering for the sake of it never works, no matter the project or IP. And we have seen aplenty that pandering to check boxes does nothing anyway. Forspoken has a black female lead, but besides the terrible Marvel-esque dialogue and clear development hell that game was in prior to launch, the character of Frey Holland is just boring and annoying. And in fact, making her black actually made her character more racist too, since Frey is a borderline homeless woman who does petty crime, and they even went as far as to make her father absent in her life. Like, come on, dude. The point is that pandering doesn't work regardless, and it's the same shit with Stellar Blade. That's another Asian-made upcoming piece of media that's getting a lot of attention, and it's all cause the main character Eve is sexy and not ugly like the current Western meta. And all you gotta do is take one look at some examples of Western-made female video game characters in the past 5 or more years, and you can see that it's an agenda that's being pushed. Look at these monsters. Jesse Faden here in Remedy's Control looks like David Bowie. And look at this character in Watch Dogs 2, like, hello? Really? And I don't even know how to respond to some of these, like, come on, dude. Of course there's such a stink around Stellar Blade, because it doesn't fit the agenda. And if I had to wager, Stellar Blade will be a big seller on PS5 when it launches sometime this year, because it's catering to a massive audience that is sick and tired of the ogre-like redesigns the modern Western gaming landscape has gone through. For example, here, look at Eve, who's based on a real-life model, by the way. She actually has a figure. She has a butt. Now, let's look at Tracer in Overwatch 2. Who has been robbed of her booty and effectively just has one very long back instead. This is terrible, but this is what's happening. Female characters are being ruined across the board on purpose by these people, so it's no wonder why they hate Stellar Blade so much. And oh my god, as I was making this too, Harada replied to the other woke weirdo, so here's what he had to say. You, insert person here, said the lack of black characters within the 30 years your IP has existed. Why do you say so clearly what is not true? Why don't you do a little more research before you say it? It is very tiring. At least a little Google search would help me understand. My god, is Harada based and right. You can't appease these people. Like he said, they just flat out lie in order to push agendas, and it's so tiring. You can never appease these weirdos, so it's pointless to even try anyway. Then of course there's Yoko Taro, the mad lad behind the Nier series, who was also very vocal giving his support to Stellar Blade. And Taro says he's a big fan of Stellar Blade's creator, Kim Hyung-tae. Taro said here on Twitter, I was surprised how amazing his new work Stellar Blade is. It's a dreamlike product where you can do action battles with extremely high quality 3D graphics. While keeping the beautiful girl characters of Kim Hyung-tae, I can't help but look forward to its release. And voila, just like that, Yoko Taro has now alerted the entire fanbase of Nier to keep their eyes on Stellar Blade. I'm telling you dude, this game is gonna sell like hotcakes. If you ever needed a more sobering and flat out example as to how the Eastern markets their games versus the West, just look at this post from Learning the Law. We are currently in a battle for not only the beauty of video game characters, but the authenticity of women, and respecting that whether these weirdos want to admit it or not, beautiful women do in fact exist. And the mental illness just keeps flowing, cause look here on Delusional Takes, where another weirdo says if you find Stellar Blade's model attractive, surprise! You're actually a lover of children now, because any woman who takes care of herself and is not a massive blob of flesh and bone is now childlike. The insane lengths these idiots will go to is crazy, dude. I've always been into feminine women. That isn't weird. That's because I just value what I find attractive. And of course, like always, if you go look at that weirdo who tried to call Harada racist and say Tekken is bad because it doesn't bend the whim to agendas, they've now locked their account from any backlash. Because it's fine when they attack others, but if you decide to criticize their points, they know that they have no moral high ground to stand on and can only resort to running away like scurried rats instead. If your ideologies are worth fighting for, maybe you should actually stand up for what you believe in, instead of censoring anyone you don't deem within your ideological echo chamber. But funny enough, these sorts of activists always run away when push comes to shove. They don't have thick skin, and they will just demand things of you. And instead of standing their ground, they'll just block people and then throw their arms up in the air while never lifting a finger themselves. Tekken, Stellar Blade, or any other Asian-made piece of media does not in any way need to pander to the nonsense of Western beliefs. I, along with many others, as evident from this channel's reach, are proof that we do not subscribe to the mind virus. I will not accept your delusions and your insanity, no matter how much you try to force it into my brain. I won't accept your very blatant and conscious bias push to make everything as ugly and gross as the people who demand everything subscribes to the mind virus. Entertainment in all of its forms is worth fighting for. It is our right as sensible, normal people to want our escapism to be devoid of the political nonsense these people exist within. No matter your skin color, nationality, or origin, you are more than that. And I refuse to believe that we need to play pretend and act like things are fine when they are very clearly the opposite. So, screw these people. I reject all of their crap and I will never back down. I say let Western games push their nonsense, and then I also say let Asian media do what they want too. And then, once it's all said and done, we can see how the market responds, shall we? And I guarantee you the side of common sense and objective reality will triumph over the mind virus. Mark my words. But ultimately, in order to finish this video, it's clear that there are many weirdos still out there actively trying to infiltrate and morph Japanese content to fit their agenda. And not only must the developers of these games remain steadfast, but the fans of these things have to as well. I love Japanese games far too much to see them get destroyed like this. And I firmly believe that we need to protect their sovereign identity as much as humanly possible. Harada was right to defend his game against idiots, and Stellar Blade will be a hit, mark my words as well. Make video games great again, my friends, and thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and share the video to help the channel out. Thanks to my patrons as always, and have a wonderful day. Enjoy playing video games, and I'll see you in the next one.